We gotta do some positive Star Wars stuff, you know? Like, I try to do the lore videos. Like, dude. Yo, this guy's gooning, bro. He's gooning. He's gooning to Leia. Oh my gosh, and Darth Vader. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, we're gonna be diving into something a little bit different. We're gonna go into the toy realm, and more specifically Lego. And the last few years, Lego has come out with the UCS series, where each year they kind of pay homage to a particular figure or a set that's like an ultimate collector's edition. It's larger, it's more detailed, usually more expensive too, but very detailed, very grandiose, I guess is a good word you could use to describe it. So this year's rumored UCS is the Death Star, and it's supposed to be $1,000. It'll be the first, I think, $1,000 Lego Star Wars set to my knowledge, and it might be the first $1,000 Lego Star Wars set ever. So there have been some leaks about it. There's some excitement about it. There is some controversy around it due to the price. I'm excited to see what the set's about. I'm excited to see the leaks. So I have a video here from Drew Bricks. Go subscribe, go like his video. He has 9,000 subscribers, and he has a cool video on some leaks about the new UCS Death Star. Also in this video, we're going to check out the most expensive Star Wars Lego sets of all time. We're going to go back to the previous Death Star that came out when I was just recently retired, and we're going to check out that set. And let's jump into this video right now. The video is titled New Lego UCS Death Star Leaks, Minifigures, and More by Drew Bricks.
What's up and welcome back to another video, guys. Today I want to go over some new leaks regarding the 2025 LEGO Star Wars UCS Death Star, as well as go over all of the other information that we have about it, as it is still one of the most anticipated sets of 2025. So without further ado, let's get right on into this video.
So I'm guessing this is like kind of like a leak of what they think is going to be the Death Star set.
Now, starting off with the basic information about this set is the fact that it is set 75419. It has a release date of October 1st, 2025. The retail price in the US is going to be $999.99, coming in at 9,021 pieces, as well as having 38 minifigures, making this the largest LEGO Star Wars set ever, as well as the set with the most minifigures.
9,000 pieces is kind of crazy. I've never built a Death Star. Or excuse me, I've never built a Lego set that has 9,000 pieces. I've maybe gone to the few thousands. The largest ones I think I have like a TIE Fighter somewhere, and I have like a Millennium Falcon, but I don't have anything near that size, and 38 minifigures is a lot. Minifigures are pretty collectible if you are a Lego person. Again, I'm not too big into Lego just because I don't have the space for it. It's also expensive, but it would be cool to get this, so let's keep going with this.
Ever. And I think the minifigures are a good spot to start because that is where we have most of our new leaks. And I think starting off with these 38 minifigures is the best spot to start. Now, it is, worth noting that this is also going to include, different droids, astromech droids, mouse droids, other droids like that, gonk droids, which is also going to count toward that 38 minifigure total. And speaking of all of the different droids, it's actually the first leaked minifigure that we have is this protocol droid coming out in this Death Star. And honestly, although it is a pretty generic minifigure, I think that it does look great. Looking toward all of the different printing on the legs as well as the torso, it is very minimal, but it does get a good level of detail across, and having the detailing as well as all of the printing on the legs. But I think most importantly, the mold for the head here looks amazing, and I think the yellow eyes really pop against this figure and make it look...
Yeah, so it is a cool minifigure. I'm curious to see the entire allotment of all 38, because the one thing about Star Wars, and it's funny when you think about, I was thinking about, for whatever reason, the most used color pieces in Lego, and I would have to think that gray is one of them on account of all the gray they use in Star Wars, probably gray and green. So I'm curious to see what they do to make the set pop. And I'm curious to see if they include any cool special minifigures, any particular like dioramas or sets or rooms or whatever.
Look very good. Unfortunately, we cannot see the back of this minifigure at all, but I do still think that this is a great minifigure. Now, it's not 100% confirmed that this is going to be in the Death Star, but if it's coming out in 2025, then it's really the Death Star is the only option for this minifigure to come out in, and it would make sense that we'd see many protocol droids like this come out in the Death Star. But let's move on to the other two leaked minifigures, which are definitely a lot more exciting than this protocol droid. Now, the second minifigure that we have leaks of is our Admiral Yularen. We have actual photos of the torso that will be used on this minifigure, and it is,
the guy who's leaking this at get.coop. Don't know who that is, but all credit to him for getting these cool images.
Pretty much confirmed.
Admiral Yularen is actually really cool. For those of you who may not know, Admiral Yularen is the Admiral in the Empire, obviously. He's also in the Republic, and if you don't know this, he's the guy who does all those intro, like the voice of Admiral Yularen, the same voice actor, is also voicing over the intro to the Clone Wars episodes.
It's going to be very, very similar to the polybag that we received of Admiral Yularen back in the day. However, it is expected for him to have dual molded legs, which will definitely be something nice to see, as it was lacking on the previous version of the Admiral Yularen that we got. And if LEGO is able to update this minifigure to a better version, especially for a $1,000 set, I am very excited to see this. We've only ever seen Admiral Yularen in his Imperial, or actually in general just twice. We saw him once in the polybag, then we saw him in his Clone Wars style in the
Oh yeah, see, there's Clone Wars era Yularen. That's very, very cool.
UCS Venator. So it's very nice to be getting another version of Admiral Yularen, although he is going to be locked behind that $1,000 paywall, not making him the most accessible minifigure, but maybe we'll see him reappear in a set in the future.
$1,000
I do
is
have
a
high
lot.
hopes for this minifigure. I think he is a great character, and I feel like it's going to be pretty much identical to the version that we saw in the polybag. However, he will have an updated torso print, dual molded legs, and maybe a bit of change to the face. Now next up, we have probably the most anticipated and most exciting
So I'm assuming Drew is just represented by this clone trooper. That's pretty cool.
set minifigure that we know is going to be the $1,000 Death Star, and that is Director Krennic. Now, we've only ever seen Director Krennic once before, and when it comes to a LEGO Star Wars minifigure, in his shuttle back when the Rogue One sets came out, and it is very nice to be seen, get some representation for Rogue One as well as Andor in this set, and Director Krennic just overall being such a cool character. Now, when it comes to this minifigure, looks to be a very...
I'd actually like to, I would love to...
overall being such a cool...
As I have gotten older, my collecting hobbies have changed. I used to collect a lot of Black Series. I collected a lot of the 3 3/4-inch figures back in the day. I still have some of the cool vehicles I saved from when I was a kid, actually. But I am kind of getting interested in some of these costumes to collect. And I think Krennic's has to be, in my opinion, one of the coolest. Or the standard Imperial ISB outfits. I think those are really cool, and I think Krennic's is super slick with the cloak and everything. It is really, really cool. I'd be down to try to collect that.
Character. Now, when it comes to this minifigure, looks to be a very good torso print, very similar to the one that we have previously seen, and that does make sense. And something that I think is worth bringing up is if you look to the left, the little kind of pack on the left side of the torso, or I guess it would be the right side in hand, but looking toward that, I think that does look like it does extend down to the legs for this minifigure. And if that printing does come down to the legs, and then assuming that this minifigure has dual molded legs like all of the officers in the $1,000 Death Star should, it would be very cool to see LEGO Star Wars actually printing on a pair of dual molded legs, because that's something that we don't see very often. So I think that could definitely be sick. I'm very excited to see this one. You can see there is some pretty good detailing with the rank badge and the Imperial clearance pens, and I'm assuming he's going to have his cape as well, as it is a very iconic part of his character. But I'm very excited to be seeing another version of Director Krennic. I think he's a sick character, one that is a pretty expensive minifigure. Now, unfortunately, if he is coming out in a $1,000 Death Star, it's not like this is going to, make him any cheaper or more accessible. If anything, there's going to be an even more expensive minifigure, so hopefully we see him appear in another set at some point in the future, but I am at least happy to be...
But it's like funny when it comes to minifigures, right? Because sometimes the minifigures might be more valuable than some of the sets, or the most valuable piece of the set. But it kind of makes you wonder, when you take the minifigure out, you're opening the set, so it's used at that point. Like, it's not new in box, it's open. Kind of interesting, well, when it comes to LEGO, at least.
Seeing him get another minifigure adaptation, and I am very excited about it. And now for the other of the minifigures, we only talked about 3, and there's going to be 38 of them, and there is a lot up for debate about what these 38 minifigures are going to be, but we kind of have a pretty good general idea, because obviously we're going to have the main Star Wars cast. We're going to have Luke, we're going to have Han.
Alright, so we've got the basics here. R2-D2, C-3PO, Chewbacca, Han Solo, Luke, Leia, Luke in the final duel, Obi-Wan, Han Solo again, Luke in the Imperial outfit. Yeah, we kind of got the standard set here, so I'm actually curious to know which Death Star it's going to be. If it's going to be 1 or 2, or if it'll be like closer to the Rogue One Death Star in terms of the characters that come with it. Royal Guard is also a really cool cosplay.
Han, we're gonna have Leia, we're gonna have Darth Vader, we're gonna have stormtroopers, Death Star workers, even more officers, probably Palpatine, some of the Royal Guard, and probably, if I had to guess, we'd at least be getting quite a few different stormtroopers and Death Star workers, and that's not even to mention astromech droids, as well as like gonk droids and all the other droids that we're gonna be getting, like that protocol droid. I'm assuming we'll probably get more than one of different protocol droids, but I am very excited to see what the minifigure selection is, but there definitely is still a couple of options on the table when it comes to some more niche or named characters. Like we do have that Director Krennic as well as the Admiral Yularen, and there was that rumor going around that we would be seeing a Sly Moore as well as a Maz Amida in 2025 or 2026, and you know, it would make the most sense that those would come out in the Death Star.
Really
now
cool.
Unfortunately,
it would make sense.
I don't know what I think about that rumor. I really don't think that that rumor is something that has anything backing it, so I'm not gonna get anyone's hope up. I would really doubt that we would see a Sly Moore or a Maz Amida appear in the $1,000 Death Star, but I do think it would be great to see them. Don't get me wrong. I just wouldn't, no matter what the minifigures are, because 38 minifigures, the most that we've ever seen in a Lego set, and I'm really excited to see what we could get. But let me know down below in the comments what minifigures you want to see in this Death Star, as well as which minifigures you are the...
Yeah, definitely let me know which minifigures you like. Comment it on Drew's channel as well, and definitely give him a like and a subscription. It's an awesome video.
Most excited for. But let's take a look at the actual build for the Death Star. Now, as for the build for the actual Death
let's
Star,
get into
at 9,021 pieces, a lot of people have some very high hopes, and this being the biggest...
This is some interesting Photoshop.
Lego Star Wars set of all time is something that I'm very curious to see. Now I'll get this out of the way. There was like a fake leak going around. I think that one was pretty obviously fake though, but I did have a couple people like reach out to me and ask like, is this real? And I figured might as well just address it just in case. I know that's an old thing, but just in case you're still out there and you come across it, that is definitely a fake photo. You just have to look at it a little closer, and it is pretty
fake news,
obvious.
believe
but
me.
Going past that and onto the actual build for what the Death Star is going to be, pretty much confirmed now that it is going to be the Death Star 1 and not the Death Star.
Man, as a kid, I always wanted
to be pretty much confirmed now that it is going to be the Death Star.
This one, that's the one I always wanted, and I'm really hoping if the UCS is like this, where you can fold it up and make it look like the actual Death Star, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. We'll unbox it live. We'll build some of it. Maybe it's something I'll do with my dad. Maybe you'll meet my dad through YouTube, which would be kind of funny because he's kind of antisocial with cameras and stuff like that.
1 and not the Death Star 2, which does make sense.
Like, I'm sorry, I guess this, yeah, I'm not a fan of the open concept. I want the panels on it is what I meant to say.
I think the Death Star 1 is definitely more iconic than the Death Star 2, but I do think the Death Star 2 has a way cooler
the Death Star 2's got swag.
Like that kind of unfinished tapering off, I think looks so cool, and I'd love to see a new Death Star 2 set at some point in the future, but that's not the point right here. But when it comes to the actual build, what we know basically is that it is going to be built onto a Technic stand, and that Technic stand is going to go in and kind of like sprout into the set to actually hold it.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because 9,000 pieces is freaking crazy.
Up because coming in at 9,000 pieces, this is going to be a very heavy and big set, and the fact that the Death Star is, you know, a sphere shape, going to be very hard to display. So when it comes to this display stand, it's going to have to be pretty strong to hold this set up, and I think it's going to be a key factor into this set. But onto the actual build, the thing that you're buying this set for is going to be the Death Star, and I think that the big thing when it comes to this is that it isn't going to have these removable panels. I see a lot of people, you know, saying
not
that
going to have those,
and that does make the most sense, and that does give you the best of both worlds, given the fact that you'd be able to display your massive Death Star, as well as also being able to access.
Yeah, but if you don't have the removable panels, it looks kind of like, it's gonna look like naked. I'm not paying $1,000 for like a naked set. I need the option. This is cool. I guess this is someone built this on their own and they put the Millennium Falcon in there. This is awesome, by the way.
The interior and, you know, recreate some of your favorite scenes. And from the looks of it, from all of the different leaks, it does look like we are going to be having a nice interior on this set. Now, we do know of a couple of interior spots, the main one being a hangar bay. That is kind of the only one that's 100% locked in, but based on that, we can definitely infer on some other things. But looping back to the hangar bay, I think that that is a great inclusion, and there is a rumor that there's going to be some sort of vehicle in this hangar bay as well, some sort of ship that you can launch out of it. Now, if I had to guess, I think that the best option would be that Vader's TIE Advanced. It's what we've seen in the previous Death Star playsets, so I think it'd be a great callback, as well as it being a long...
It makes sense, but I kind of want something different. Like, I know there's only so many things you could do with the Death Star to keep with the original trilogy and pay homage to it, but I want something like different. Like, maybe give me one of the shuttles they use at the end of Return of the Jedi, where Luke brings Vader's body back. Give me something like different, something that makes the set like unique and pop. That's unique to the set. Spending $1,000 on a Lego set, I want something unique to that set that I'm not going to see anywhere else. And that's not just like a random minifigure, like, oh, this is the first one we're doing, and this is an exclusive, and it only comes with the set. Like, give me something that's cool, that's unique, that's going to drive the market to want to buy that, and it's going to make it iconic. The Death Star is iconic already, but since we've had 2 iterations of it, like, I need to see something like big. It could even be like a tiny detail, but there has to be something significant about the set that justifies, like, why am I spending $1,000 on this? Obviously, it's a UCS. It's the first UCS, but again, what in that set is going to separate itself from every other Lego set that's going to make it worth the $1,000? That's what I kind of want to see. And again, UCS 1,000 pieces, most pieces, I get it. It's big. But what about it being big is special? Pause.
Long time since we've seen another Vader's TIE Advance, and I think it does make a great shift of scene here. It also just being perfect given the size and the fact that the wings can fold up very well compared to another TIE fighter. Now, if we did have like a normal TIE fighter in there with the wings being as tall as they are, definitely wouldn't fit, but we'll loop back to that because we definitely are getting a TIE fighter in relation to this set as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do think, as for this build and the other rooms that we could see, the couple of no-brainers are going to be, getting the iconic trash compactor scene. Now, we did see that as a diorama before, and if I had to, make a guess, I feel like it'd be very similar to that diorama as well. Maybe getting the Emperor's Throne Room also in there would make a lot of sense. This cell block, I think, would also be one that makes an appearance, as well as having Princess Leia's cell as well.
So, like, I think would be cool. So this is the problem. It's already $1,000, right? But a cool idea, right, is if they sold... Please, guys, don't get mad at me for this. In a perfect world where we all had millions of dollars, that's the preface. It would be cool if they sold these as, like, collectibles, and you can only get them at, like, certain places or whatever. Like, I remember back in the day, there were certain... Happy Meal figures you can only get at certain locations at certain times, right? So it would be cool if they did this with the set and you had to plug it into your Death Star over time and build it up over time. I'll give you a great example. Star Wars and Hallmark came out with the Star Wars wreath, and the wreath had come out, right? Regular wreath, and you could buy the sets of the different vehicles and figures that came with that wreath. And when you plug it all together, it played like a movie sequence from Star Wars. So it would be kind of cool if it did something like that, where you bought the UCS Death Star one year, then every year one UCS specialty set came out that would plug into your UCS Death Star. It would make the collecting experience more fun, maybe a little more expensive, but I'm guessing if they took down $1,000 price tag and made it like $600, and the first year they came out the first set, and each year they sold the rest of the sets until they reached that $1,000 threshold, which is the original price. I actually think that would be a cool, unique idea and make it a cool collecting experience for Star Wars fans and Lego fans alike. But also probably a bad idea because we live in a world where they will probably charge up the butt for that stuff.
We did see that as a diorama before, and if I had to, make a guess, I feel like it'd be very similar to that diorama as well. Maybe getting the Emperor's Throne Room also in there would make a lot of sense. This cell block, I think, would also be one that makes an
cell block looks sick.
Appearance, as well as having Princess Leia's cell as well, so you could have your Luke Skywalker and Han come in there to save her, and I feel like those are the main ones. Now they're also gonna have to fill up that space with some other stuff as well, but honestly I'm just very excited to see this. I am very curious to see how Lego goes about building up this set, coming in at how heavy it is. I'm also very curious to see how this display stand comes into play. I know it's not the most interesting thing to many people, but for me, I'm pretty fascinated with how they're going to, make this set displayable and be able to be held upright and not fall over. So something that is very interesting to see. Now, as for other parts of the build, we're going to be getting a display stand as well as a display plaque. And the display stand...
See, man, if I had the space for it, like, I would totally get some of this stuff.
Going to have, I'm very curious to see if it's something that's going to hold the minifigures or not. Now we see this, like looking toward the sail barge, we had that pretty large display stand for the minifigures, but 38 minifigures, if they keep it with that same design, that's going to be one long, it's probably going to be a couple of feet long for that minifigure display. So brings a lot of people to think, is this going to be some sort of tiered display? We've never seen that for Lego Star Wars before, sick. But I think it would be perfect for this set to get kind of a tiered display build to display all of the different minifigures, or are they just not going to include a minifigure minifigure display because there are so many minifigures and you're just going to be expected to be putting them inside of your build.
Dude, 30, it's a lot.
Something that is very interesting to see and think about, but I am very excited for this build. I think there's a ton of different opportunities out there.
Makes me want to play Lego.
And to be honest, with October, you know, approaching pretty quickly, I have no doubt that we're going to be getting even more leaks and probably images very soon of what this Death Star build is actually going to look like. Now lastly, I want to talk about the gift with purchase that's going to be alongside this Death Star on release in October. And that is going to be the TIE Fighter gift with purchase. And this is honestly a bit disappointing.
Yeah. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Let's go look at the last Lego Star Wars set that came out. And it's a retired product. I have it in dark mode. I don't want to blow up everyone's eyeballs. I don't want to blow up my own. I try to keep things a little on the dark side. No pun intended. But yeah, so I really just wasn't a fan of the open concept, which is why I never bit. I'm also just conflicted. Like $1,000 is a lot of money. Like if you're just like a regular person and you have like a regular job, $1,000 can be more than a lot of money. To me, it's just a lot of money for toys, right? But part of me, it's like I want to open it up. I want to build it. You know, maybe my sister's 14 years old. Maybe she likes Star Wars. Maybe it would be cool to build it with her. And then the other part of me is like, dude, just leave it in the freaking box. Or I could just buy two, which would be crazy. But yeah, I wasn't too big a fan of the open concept here. Very, very cool stuff, man. For context, I don't really open up too much of my figures and collectible Star Wars stuff. I don't know. I'm just more of an in the box kind of person. Yeah, this is the I don't know what year this set is, but why does Palpatine look like that? Like he looks like a little too excited, if you ask me, but still cool nonetheless. We gotta do some positive Star Wars stuff, you know, like I try to do the lore videos. Like, dude. Yo, this guy's gooning, bro. He's gooning. He's gooning to Leia. Oh my gosh, and Darth Vader. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's cool. Like I love Star Wars a lot, and this is some funny stuff, man. So I can't wait. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this set. Oh man, like look at these kids. These kids are like 14. I'm here freaking mid-30s. Whatever, dude. Who cares? Do what you love, right? I work hard for it. Okay, so for comparison, this had 4,000 pieces. And I've seen this in person. This thing is freaking huge. So the next one's going to be double the size of this. That's kind of insane. So the next part of the video, let's move on to the most valuable retail Lego Star Wars sets. I got two websites here. Let's start with Brick Economy first. So we got Cloud City. Then after Cloud City, you got the Darth Maul bust, which I mean, I think is kind of, I don't see why this is so expensive. Could have fooled me. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. There you go. Death Star 2, which we were just looking at, is number 3, coming in at what? Almost $3,000. Now I get the Naboo Starfighter, I think at 5. This one surprised me. The Resistance Bomber. Being that movie didn't do so well, I'm very surprised at how valuable this is. Not in movie success doesn't always denote, wow, $1,700. And it's out of the box too. Wow, that's crazy. I have to do some more research. There's probably like a particular reason as to why it's so valuable, but $2,500 retailing at $100, man. Oh my gosh, it's like better than crypto. UCS money and Falcon, no need to explain that. Public drop shit with the AT. Okay, so I would actually probably pay, I'd pay for this. I think I would. If I had the money, I would do it. This is something I'd actually go out and buy. Like, this is so freaking cool. This is so freaking awesome. Rebel Blockade Runner is cool, and the Super Star Destroyer, and I think that's number 10, 12. I'm probably going a little bit past number 10. Well, let's check out this video from Solid Brick Studios. 678,000 subscribers. Huge, huge channel. We'll go through it. We'll browse through it. Okay, so we're going by shelves.
And I want to say a couple years ago, I think I was actually interviewing him for the Black Panther bus set. I believe he was the designer behind that. And he had seen that my shelves behind me were the IKEA Ivor shelves. And I love those shelves to death. You guys
That's
know
IKEA right
all
there.
The time. And he told me that he has the same
IKEA.
ones, and that it's a common shelf for
that
Lego
thing's
designers
like over 10
to
years
reference
old.
back to in terms of how a Lego set, as long as, you know, the set. So it's a full diameter of 16 inches. The room, or this one is actually 2006.
16 inches tall and 16 inches wide. 35 inches wide, 20 inches depth. All right. So if you look over here, just for like a size reference, you can see his shelves in the back. This would probably fit over here. Let's see.
any height as long as, you know, the set is still movable. That's another constraint I've heard from designers, that you have to be able to pick it up and move it into another room, or it can separate into sections and you can pick those up, like Rivendell, for example. Really funny that this one set is 20 inches, matching that shelf size from earlier. Now,
interesting.
This kind of busts my point. I was thinking, man, this UCS Death Star can't be bigger than 20 inches because of the designers using that baseline shelf of the Ivor system. Well, then you look at these sets. We have the Titanic on one end, and we have the UCS Ultimate Collector Series Imperial Star Destroyer on the other. The Titanic is 53 inches long. That is way longer than the 35 inches of that shelf that I just mentioned. The UCS Star Destroyer is also 43 inches in length, but key measurement here is that it's 26 inches in depth. That's 6 more inches than that Ivor shelf. So basically both of these sets kind of just don't think.
All right, so he's thinking 26 by 26. I don't know. This is 4,000 pieces. And I don't know if he had the guesstimate for the new one because it's 3 months old. He probably has some insider information, but the other YouTuber said like 9,000 pieces. So if this is, how much did he say? He said that one is 16 by 16, double the size. I think it's going to be, maybe 26 by 26 might be accurate.
But after thinking about this for a long time, if LEGO wants to go like 12,000 pieces on a set like this, the paneling is just not going to cut it. You need the Death Star 2 for all those different details. So that's going to be my choice for what a UCS Death Star in 2025 could be. I think
this looks more like a kid's play set.
It's needed to hit that 12,000 piece count in episode 6. You can see that there's so much greebling opportunity for a LEGO set to recreate, easily hitting that 12,000 plus piece count to really make it the biggest LEGO set of all time. Now, what about the stand? This is something I'll probably...
All right, we talked about the stand already in the last one. Let's see what else we got.
As much as I would love that, I think we're going to see something more in line with the Falcon. What kind of thinking? I think hold up the set. This UCS Death Star at $1,000 should absolutely have an interior. And I don't think it's going to be as crazy as a lot of you are thinking. I think it's going to be much more in line with what we've seen in, say, the UCS Millennium Falcon, with a few rooms that just fit in perfectly within the size constraints of the set. I'm not expecting you to open up an entire half of the Death Star and it to be a full-on interior. That's just not realistic. As much as I
think for $1,000, I think it has to be a Death Star 1 now that I think about it, because you want that play set. You know, you want this ability to open up the panels and do this. What would be really cool is if they manage to do some sort of like hybrid. I don't think it's going to happen, but for the UCS, I think you have to do the original Death Star. I think you have to do the Rogue One Death Star, like literally during the events of the Rogue One movie. So you get new minifigures too. They got to start building the hype up. I haven't really seen too much about it. I've just been trying to find interesting content to bring to you guys. You know, I don't always want to make videos that are just commentary that might be like negative, or maybe not an opinion that you're fond of, or an opinion that you are fond of. Like, I kind of want to do things that are fun as well. So news reaction, a little bit of my thoughts, a good amount of lore. I have some lore videos that are unlisted right now in private, including a 30-minute Ezra theory video that's done. It's just sitting in the queue, kind of waiting for some like Ahsoka hype to pop up. Then I'll drop the video. But I think this is interesting too, and I think this is definitely newsworthy, and I think it's something that will get fans excited, or just talking about the price. So that being said, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the UCS $1,000 Death Star, the leaks we talked about, what your expectations are, and if you're going to grab it or not. So if you are going to grab it, or if you're not, wherever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the content creators of the videos we watched today. Give them a like too. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my video and my content as well. It means the world to me. It really does. So until the next time, guys, I love you all. Stay safe. May the force be with you always. I'll catch you guys in the next one.